Story number 1. Look for the blessings in disguise. So the tutor began with the story of a brooding merchant who night after night pondered about the purpose of his life. One memorable night, he got his eureka moment of sorts when an idea struck him to quell his strife. It's money, he exulted, and he contemplated. Cash is king, for it's the real power. He who can't pay gets down to pray. Money talks and its possession empowers, for everyone in this world understands the money language. And he continued murmuring, money is the axis of this world. Even an enemy seeks friendship with a rich man. Amassing wealth, therefore, is the greatest virtue. So I'd better stick to my basic plan. That is, to stick to my business and expand it exponentially. But being anxious because of the renewed excitement, he found it hard to sleep. He spent the night planning how to act on his idea, for without action, every idea is incomplete. The next morning, mobilizing all his wares, he sets out in search of the markets for his modest motley of merchandise or goods. His bullock-driven cart then became his whole-souled source of his future living and livelihood. But on the way, as fate would have it, one of the bullocks collapsed from the exhausting haul. The adamant merchant then had to abandon the battered bullock behind in order to stick to the existing protocol. The protocol not to stop until he savored the bling and clang of some real money. The merchant thus continued, without being bothered, with his arduous journey. Well, the bullock left behind was now free as air, and he did have a catchy name. He would be called Taurus of the forest, one of the many players in this game. Now, happy as never before, the master of his fate can roam the whole jungle without the fear of constant whipping. By virtue of grazing on fresh tender grass, he felt more alive to do the better kicking. Once bound by toil, now running free, no master chains, no misery. The jungle gave him what fate had denied, a life renewed, a blessing in disguise. Content with his new life, one day, Taurus danced and sang with unrestrained joy, unaware that by his jubilation, a lion called Rex was growing secretly annoyed. Yes, Rex, the king of that jungle, knew nothing about the newly arrived menace. Only the reverberations of that bellowing bull had seeped into his primal awareness. The panic-stricken lion then withdrew into the forest, only to be dejected and deeply lost in thought. He had never faced such a predicament, you see, when he was placed against such unusual odds.
What a terrible creature it is,
He pondered mindfully.
must be an arrival to challenge my kingship by virtue of some divine decree.
And he mourned remorsefully.
Oh dear God, please be merciful and save me.
He prayed. But he wasn't brooding alone. For the two other jackals, Red Shadow and Grey Gloom, were sneakily sensing the predicament of their king. They grew concerned about the well-being of His Majesty, for his state of despondency was a brand new thing. They were adaptive, shrewd hustlers who always preferred the low-hanging mango. Their friendship was more like a reciprocal partnership that takes at least two to tango. What could have happened to the lord of a jungle, man? Asked Grey Gloom, as was all set to poke his nose into affairs that aren't his concern. But Red Shadow timely reminded him of a story in which a curious monkey learns an expensive lesson, saying, CGG, why should we poke our nose into affairs that aren't our direct concern? Haven't you heard the story of a monkey whose act of meddling led him to a point of no return? Have you? He asked. No, I have not, but it sounds interesting, he reckoned. And here comes the story of a curious monkey as the very first moral beacon. As the very first moral beacon, that is, be curious but don't be over keen.